Okay, so here I am going to talk about what this public and private mean. I'm only going to talk about that in this video because it's not complicated, but it's a very important issue, okay? And I won't talk about static in this one, I'll talk about that in a different one because that's another thing. Classes can get quite overwhelming. So here. So I've created a class called player. Now obviously this would have loads of things in it, many things in it, but I'm just going to keep it simple. It's only going to store the player's health. Okay, so I need to instantiate that class because otherwise there isn't one. I'm going to call it P1. I'm going to make a new player and then I'm going to set the health to 100. Right, brilliant. Okay, everything's fine. So let's console.write out the player health. So we check everything's working, check that it is actually putting it in. Oh my god, it's 100. Wow. Examiner classes. Now that's great. So now in the game, we pick up a health pack. Fantastic. And it adds 50 to our health. But here's the problem. We want to have the health cap at 100. So in this game, we actually wanted to have a maximum health. That is 100. So they can't go above 100. Like it's like one of those spaceship shooter games or whatever. You get health back, but you never go above your health. So this could be a problem. Because you collect a health pack, and now we're on 150. So this is not a good idea. It's actually never a good idea ever to have your variables for your classes public. Now C#'s got a really cool thing that we can do that is specific to C# and a few other very specific languages that sort of makes a special type of variable where you've got get and set, and it's really cool. And I will talk about that, but I'm just going to talk about the general way people get around this problem and it's the normal standard object orientated things, because this might come up in the exam. They might not write in C# and you need to understand what these are. So we make this as private. Now by doing that, these lines are now illegal. We cannot access health. Private means that only things inside player can access health. So if we make a method inside here, that can access health, but only something inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make two methods, one to get the health, one to set the health. Right? You could make one called add health, you could make one called damage or whatever, but I'm just going to make get health, set health. Or no, actually, I won't. I'll make get health and I'll make one add some health. Right? So get health is going to return. Now get health needs to be public. If we make get health private, we wouldn't be able to run it outside. That's pointless, right? So we're going to do one called public. It's going to return the health, and we're going to call it get health. Okay, and it doesn't need any parameters because it doesn't need anything, and it's going to return health. Okay, so now if I want to get the health in console, I don't write player1.health. I do player1 dot, and as you can see here, hey, we've got a cool new thing: get health. Two brackets. I'm just going to put spaces there to tell you, and now it's going to run it. But remember, we've not set the health to anything. It's still telling me I forgot about slashing that, and so it's probably going to start at 0 because I didn't set health to anything. So now I'm going to write two more methods. One's going to be set health, and one's going to be add health. Okay, so I'm going to write both public because if you don't make them public, they will not be able to run them outside, like in here. Now they don't return anything. Add health and set health aren't going to return anything. And when methods don't return anything, you write the word void. Just like here, main doesn't return an answer when it's run. So it's just void. Void means it don't return nothing. Right? So I'm going to do set health. And that's going to take a parameter because I'm telling them what am I setting health to, right? Like what are you setting health to? Okay? And that's an integer. So I'll call it H. Okay? Now, I'm going to set the health to whatever they set. So I go health equals H. But because I don't want health to go over 100, right? I'm going to go if health is greater than 100. Now where have I got to the brackets? Then we're going to say health equals 100. Okay? So even though I'm allowing them to set the health, if they write 150, it's not going to allow them. So you can see how a method to set the health is better than just saying, let's let them access health. Now you might think, just never do that. Why don't you do this check? I could do that check here. I could do p1.health equals, plus equals 100, and then go if p1.health greater than. But now I've got to do that line every time I change the health. Here, I've written it once, and I'm protecting myself. Also, games are written by many people. I'm not going to expect everyone to understand. So you want to make everything idiot proof because you don't want some junior programmer accidentally wrecking your stuff. Okay, so I've made a method called setHealth that takes one parameter, an integer h. Okay, so now how do I run that? I'll just delete these now. So I'd now go p1 dot. When you press dot now, look, there's my function or method. Bang. And if I hover over it, it's going to tell you that it needs in the brackets it needs an integer. Now I'm going to set it to 999 deliberately to show that it will fix that 999 and make it 100. Bang, and it has. Look now, so I can't set the health above 100. Fantastic. Okay, so now that's okay, but then I would need to do something like get the health, then set the health to 50 higher if I wanted to add 50, and that seems cumbersome. So why don't I write a nice little method? So write a public method, has to be public or I'm not going to be able to run it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, and the thing is, I'm going to use setHealth in my new one. Clever, save me rewriting new code. So I'm going to do add health, okay? Add health, and it needs to know how much health to add, so int h again. Brilliant. Now it's void, I forgot to do the void, doesn't return an answer. Okay, now you might think I could write all this code again. The checking the health is more than 100. But I have a function called setHealth. So why not use that? I just set the health to whatever the current health is, plus whatever we want to add. Now, this function is actually going to exit this method, sorry. It's very similar to a function, so I'm going to get this confused all the time. I always say functions. This method is going to take in a parameter called, and it's going to take whatever health is, when we can access health, even though it's private, because we are members of the class. These methods are members of the class. They get access to health. Outside down here, we can't access health. Inside here, these methods we write can access health. And that's how we can limit idiots from basically coding stuff wrong, is when we want them to add health, we make them use our nicely written code. But there's no point writing code twice. I could actually have just done this here. I could have cut this. I could have put this in here. I could have done health equals health, h plus health, and then done this check, yeah? But why reuse code? Okay, if I want to change the maximum amount of health, which by the way you definitely would store in some sort of variable here, but let's not get into that. Why not use the method itself? Set the health to whatever it currently is, but h higher, and then it will deal with all this stuff. Okay, and don't worry about the fact that we've used h here and we've used h here. This function only knows about this method only knows about this h. Whatever we send into here, h is dead here. The new h is here from the result of that. Just the fact that we use the same names here is absolutely irrelevant. They don't know about each other in any way. What goes into this box here from this, when I run set health, so I'll show you. When I do so we'll set health to 100. Okay, no, we'll set it to 10. Otherwise, add health's not going to do anything. And we'll add health of 16. And I'll explain step by step what we're doing. In fact, we could run this step by step, but I'm just going to run it for you. So we set health to 10. So what happens is, we create a new player, obviously. So it goes into here, and 10 gets put in that box called H. Health then gets set to 10. Then we say if 10 is greater than 100, then set health to 100. Well, it isn't, so it stays at 10. Okay, so right now health is at 10. Then we do player1.add health. So 16 goes into this box called H. Then we do set health, which we know is 10, plus H, which is 16. That 26 gets sent into this box called H. Now, just because these boxes are the same, they're not relevant. These are sub-programs. They only know about the stuff in their own world. So I could have called them something different just to be a bit maybe more clear, but actually many programmers don't do that. They understand this. So inside here is that H is 26. Doesn't know about the H from here. This is dead now. It just got sent in this, the added together things. So health is now equal to 26, and 26 is not greater than 100, so it stays at 26, and will thus get displayed at 26. There you go. And that's the sort of thing that classes can do, okay? And there are many clever things you can do with classes about inheriting cool things. We can check if someone's dying, like for example, if we damage health. Let's say we want to take damage. So we'd write damage health. Let's write the function, let's write the method. Okay, so damage is a public method, otherwise we can't damage ourselves. Okay, it doesn't return an answer. Okay, we do damage And then in H, we'll do add damage because it makes more sense with our add health. Then we do set health to health minus H. Now, at the moment we're allowing negative 0. So now if we were to do add damage of 50, we'd actually go into a negative number, which, you know, we'll run and we'll see. Minus 24. Now, what we could then do is after each damage, we could do something called like check death. Ooh, check death. And then we'd write another method. Public void check death. So be like, right, if health less than or equal to 0. And by the way, I'm not asking you to understand how to write all these. This is not a how to write these methods things. This is just an explanation of classes. So just try and follow along. So we check the death, and we can only die after we take damage. And then we could write in here all the code that happens if we die. Like, you know, we play dead animation. Obviously, I would then write some method. We play dead sound effect. I'm not going to write all these things in here. But you can see what you could do, like, and then you wouldn't have to keep doing things like, has the player died? Has the player died? Anytime they take damage, you do it by add damage, and then in that method, it will check if the player died every time, and it will run all the player dead stuff that you need, and you don't have to worry about that in the game. Let's say you take damage. I'm actually just going to write like player dead, because these things don't exist. Actually, let's do beep, because isn't there console.beep? Let's do that. We'll do a little beep when the player dies. So, oh no, he's dead. Yay. Let's do loads of beeps. Let's just beep the hell out of it. Beep, 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 beep. Our player died. Right. But you can see that I've managed to sort of, you can see the power of classes, hopefully, that how useful they can be, in that you can, and this is a player, and you're only making one player, probably, so this isn't so important. But imagine enemies. Like, you can create enemies, and the thing is, we're not going to go into this cool thing now, but you can create like this really clever thing where like you can share code between classes and do other cool things. So there's some really clever stuff. That's what classes are really good at. So that's classes number 2. I hope you followed through and followed on with that. So yeah, there's some classes and the sort of thing they can do. But that's the main difference between public and private, and why it's never really a good idea to make your variables public. It's far better to have what is called set and get things. However, C# has a much cooler way of doing this, which other languages don't all have, and I will show you that in another video.